I just wanted to hop on and go over section 5, which is chapters 10 through 12. I put this on Classroom if you're doing remote. And then for those of you that are out right now, this is also on Classroom for you. But you don't have to turn this in, okay? But you do want to have these questions available to study from, hint, 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 for your CSA, which will be on Thursday. Okay, so definitely go over all of these questions that were on section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and look over those questions before Thursday, okay? So do the summary of 10 through 12, and then number 2 asks, why can't Dally accept Johnny's death? Well, if you look on page 152, Ponyboy says that Johnny was the only thing that Dally had ever loved, which is huge. That's saying more than his family, more than any of the other greasers. Dally loved Johnny more than anybody else. And we know that in their relationship that Johnny idolized Dally. He said that several times, or Ponyboy said that several times. So their relationship was really a strong one. So number 3 kind of ties into that. So does Dally want to die? Yes, he does. It was like suicide by police because he could not handle Johnny being gone. And that's why he robbed the grocery store. The gun that he had was probably not even loaded because he had told Ponyboy earlier in the text that he just carries it. It's a good bluff that he doesn't even have it loaded. So probably the night that he died, the gun was not loaded. Next one. Why does Ponyboy collapse the night of the Rumble? It's on page 156 if you forgot. Exhaustion, shock, minor concussion. And he did have a fever before the Rumble. And you probably remember that the reason he had the concussion is because he got kicked in the head during the fight with the Socs. Number 5, hopefully you caught that Johnny gave the nurse a copy of Gone with the Wind to give to Ponyboy. That was the book that they read together when they were in the church. And then that was also after Johnny was in the hospital, he asked 2-Bit to go get him another copy, hoping that Ponyboy would finish reading it to him. But then, of course, we know that Johnny passed away. So, number 6, when he is sick and he's recovering, Ponyboy looks through a yearbook that was Soda's, and on page 161 and 162, he's looking at it. And so what thoughts are triggered when he sees Bob's picture in the yearbook? First of all, he notices that Bob, he didn't even recognize him at first, because who looks like their yearbook picture? He says something to the effect of that, which is really, if you think about it, much deeper than just the yearbook picture. This whole book has been about not judging somebody just because of what you think you know about them, or don't put the Socs all in one category just because they're a Soc. Don't put the greasers all in one category just because they live on this side of town. So he's really thinking about, like, who was Bob really as a person? You know, the person that Cherry described as Bob was completely different than what Ponyboy thought. Or Randy. Randy had a totally different version of who Bob was. So he was more than just a Soc. He had things too. You know, when Cherry said things are rough all over, it becomes evident by the end of the book that Bob didn't have things perfect over at his house either. So, which ultimately led to his death, really, because Randy said he just wanted somebody to tell him no. So, number 7, who does Ponyboy tell Randy was the person who killed Bob? He says it was him. Ponyboy said it was himself. So whether he did that just out of shock or trying to trick himself into believing that Johnny's not really dead, or trying to protect Johnny's reputation, could be for a number of reasons. I love number 8. I love when he does this. So 2-Bit knows that Ponyboy is not going to get tough. You know, Dally had said to Johnny, like, he should have just got tough. If he would have been tough like me, he would never felt anything. He tells him that a couple times. Once when Johnny's asking about his parents, and then the other time when he's dying, Dally was like, if he shouldn't have went in and got those kids. But I just love number 8. So he breaks that bottle and acts like he's going to cut these Socs that showed up, and they leave because they're worried that he actually will do it. But then he cleans up the glass because he didn't want anybody to get a flat tire. So I just love that. Ponyboy does stay gold like Johnny had asked him to. Number 9, in the letter that Johnny writes Ponyboy, what does he ask him to tell Dally? He says a couple things. He says, tell Dally that there's still a lot of good in the world, because I don't think he knows that. And then he also tells him, tell him to look at the sunsets, which that has been, kind of a revolving theme between Johnny and Ponyboy and Cherry and Ponyboy. And he says, I don't think, something along the lines of, I don't think that Dally has ever seen a sunset. He doesn't mean ever in his life, but to really see it, and to see it for how miraculous and beautiful it is just on its own. And then the last one, I hope that you noticed at the end of chapter 12 that last line in chapter 12 was the beginning of the book. I'm going to just play it here for a second. Okay, so hopefully you caught on that really this book is meant to be Ponyboy's essay that he wrote for class. Not essay. He wrote a whole book. But remember when he had called his teacher to see how long it could be? And he said, as long as you feel like it needs to be. So at the end, with Hinton, that's the author, with her ending the book the same way she began it, we already know that Ponyboy is telling this story, but this is truly his story. So I hope you caught that. And we will have a CSA on Thursday. If you have questions, please reach out to me and let me know. But definitely look over these quiz times that we've had leading up to this point.